We're really excited about the topic today because this is something that's been on our minds and on our plates for, literally 10 years. And we've been working hard for a long time. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit about that and show you what we've got. Couple of quick things. I've kind of muted everybody. We're going to be taking questions. And when we do that, you're free to unmute yourselves, ask questions and so on. But until then, we're going to ask that you stay muted so that we don't have extraneous noise in the meeting. And you can also type in the chat to ask questions. We're going to try to answer all of them today. Negative 33 wind chill in Minnesota, I see, from Melinda. Oh, that's chilly. I'm counting my blessings. But drop a note in there in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Let us know how you're doing, and we will get things going right away. Kimberly, Dr. Kimberly Thompson is with us today. I'm going to mute my phone. There we go. Kimberly, welcome. Do you want to say anything before we start?
I am excited to be here at this webinar. This webinar has been a long time in the making, hasn't it?
Sure has.
I remember when I first started with you, about 10 years ago, my very first project was to gather information for Auriculo so that we could begin our very first app. Maybe it was our second app. You already had something small going when I first started. And I did all the research back then for Auriculo 3D, and we've been gathering and gathering and gathering. And the world of auriculotherapy has completely changed since we began this journey all of those years ago. More and more practitioners are using it, and I don't know. I think we've created something amazing and helpful.
I think you're absolutely right. It's been an absolute joy to finally have it in hand and be able to use it, and I am enjoying it so much more than what we previously had available to us. So, without further ado, then. One more welcome to everybody. I see folks are dropping a note in and saying hello. Thanks for that. I'm going to go ahead and get started sharing my screen, and we have a few things to present.
Yay.
Here we go, and that and that. Okay. Dr. Kimberly, be my feedback. Is everything coming through okay?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, excellent. Well, today in our webinar, we're going to be discussing Auriculo 360, the next generation of our Auriculo reference software. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the background, give a demo, talk about features, and take any questions that you'd like to ask. So with that, I just want to kind of give a quick primer, a quick review about auriculotherapy. We have some wonderful seminars, webinars available on auriculotherapy. We have some things in our learning portal that are available where we teach basics, we teach some advanced work, and we highly recommend checking those things out if you'd like to get yourself some training and move forward in your auriculotherapy. But this is just a kind of a quick review, an overview. First of all, auriculotherapy is an extremely popular and effective treatment. Almost every day I have practitioners who are calling and talking to me about that, who are asking questions, who are adding it or wondering, how do I add this? And it's no surprise because it's getting a lot of positive press. I don't have the chart, but in some of our trainings, I like to, every year I go search PubMed for articles on auriculotherapy or that use auricular, auriculotherapy in their name, that are focused on this branch of acupuncture. And what we find out is that you have this curve that's going up, 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 up. Every year there are more peer-reviewed published articles than there were the year before. And it's really this big breakout. There's more research going on, there's more popularity going on because it works. So as you know, it's rooted in traditional medicine. It also incorporates a lot of modern discoveries, which is excellent. I love the way that it continues to evolve. You can treat the entire body from the ear, which is convenient because it's right up here on the side of the head. You can be used in a variety of situations. Nobody has to disrobe. It's just a great way to approach treatment. And it can be done by a variety of practitioners and a variety of licenses that cover this. So you probably already know that. With that in mind, there's really a simple 3-step process to getting great results with auriculotherapy. And those steps are basically figure out what points you need to treat, locate those points that are active, and then provide the correct treatment for those points. And if you can do that, you can change the dynamic and get great results. And by the way, I want to pause here to add that no matter what sort of treatment you're doing, whether you are providing other acupuncture care or a completely unrelated form of care like massage or chiropractic or medical care of some type, adding auriculotherapy is a wonderful way to enhance your results, to address symptoms, to give that extra little treatment. I literally had a wonderful conversation yesterday with a practitioner. She called and she was saying, look, I have a patient coming in tomorrow. I really want to give the best treatment I can possibly give. Everything's on the table. What would you recommend? And we talked about AccuGraph and we talked about graphing and balancing the graph and so on. And then we talked about auriculotherapy. And she was very adamant that she wanted to make sure she included that because she wanted to make sure that she really did all she could for this patient. And so we had a great talk about that. And hopefully when she sees that patient today, that's exactly what she'll be doing. Okay, so with those 3 simple steps in place, let's talk about each one of them. Choosing the right points. There's over 250 commonly used treatment points on the ear. There's actually a lot more depending on what books you look at, what seminars you go to, and so on. I've seen a whole lot of what I call private points. And these are points that practitioners have come up with in their own work, in their own study, in their own clinical experience over the years. And they found that they get great results with this particular point. And some of these get passed around or taught kind of like secret recipes or something. But there's a lot of points on the ear, and they're very small, and they're very precise, and they're close together. And precision is really one of the keys. So if you know which points to use, and you've got good quality information, then really that's half the battle. Now, we've all been there where we've looked through the books, and I've got this this picture I took one time where I stacked up all my auriculotherapy books and posed with them, and it's a big stack. And I remember the old days of grabbing the books and flipping through and looking for that right chart, and then you find it and it's small and it's black and white and it's hard to read and it's imprecise because the points are huge and the ears are small. And that's really why we started developing the Auriculo line of software 10 years ago. Well,
Adrian,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
you got to add to that story because you have that stack of books and you go grab a book and then you open the book and you lay the book on the patient's belly while you're looking at the book and looking at their ear and trying to decide which point to use, because I did that. That was how I started with auriculotherapy way back when.
Confessional time for Dr. Kimberly, laying the book on the patient's belly. You just don't get any classier than that.
That's right.
Well, and I can laugh, Kimberly, because I've done the same thing. I didn't actually lay the book on the patient. I had a table, but you get the idea. And you're literally flipping through and you're making excuses saying, no, I know there's a protocol here. I just got to go look it up. And pretty soon they're starting to wonder. And so that was the impetus for making an electronic reference way back when. All right, next, once you've figured out what points you want to use, you've got to locate the points on the ear, and you've got to find out which ones are active. Points that are not currently active don't need treatment. That's traditional auriculotherapy. This is how it's taught. And so the best way, in my opinion, to find out what's active is to use an electrical point locating and treating device. And so there are electrical devices you can scan the ear with. My favorite is the Point-O Select Digital because it's so capable it can look for points of either polarity. So both points of the positive and negative polarity. And it can also provide all of the correct treatment protocols for all those points. So that device is right here. Not only the polarities, the frequencies, using all of the correct Nogier frequencies, selectable intensity to get the right amount of stimulation without too much. And you have to, of course, provide an effective length of treatment time, which generally is 15 to 30 seconds. So if you can locate points quickly and then treat for 15 seconds a point, the entire treatment process can be done in just a couple of minutes. And in a couple of minutes, you can make a huge difference in the patient's symptoms. So that's kind of the quick 3-step overview. If you know what points, if you can locate the points that are active, and if you can treat the points, you can get great results. And so that brings us to the reason that you're here today. And the reason we're all here is to introduce Auriculo 360. It's our brand new, fully three-dimensional auriculotherapy reference software that you can use on any of your devices, any of your screens. Let's talk about how this came about and why we created it. So we had Auriculo originally. We made a program called Auriculo way back, and it was two-dimensional. It was essentially a chart reference app. And we took a big ear, and this was kind of a cool approach. We actually got a projector and we projected a giant ear up on a whiteboard on the wall. And then Dr. Kimberly and I sat there for hours and hours and days going through all the auriculotherapy textbooks we could get our hands on and putting all the points on the ear that we could find in all the books until we had projected and written on that ear all of the points that we could locate and that we could find, and got them in proper relationship, and we got them in the right location. And then from that, we made electronic charts, and we made a two-dimensional app called Auriculo, which would allow you to look at the ear and you could flip it left or right, which was revolutionary, because how often are you looking at a patient's left ear, but the chart shows a right ear, and then you've got to transpose. And I promise you, it can get confusing. And then the other limitation was, of course, that an ear is a three-dimensional object, and trying to find points that are behind a certain structure or that are hidden or that are covered up that you can't see on a two-dimensional chart just made it that much harder. So after we made Auriculo, we decided to make a 3D app, and it was designed so that you could actually look at a two-dimensional chart and then click a button and it would open a three-dimensional ear with the same points on it, and you could move that ear around and you could see where the points were located. And I'll show you that in a minute. It was really an amazing piece of technology at the time that it came out, back in 2012 or something. It was a long time ago when we had the 3D version first come out. But it was also based on the 3D technology that was readily available at that time, and it had some real limitations. First of all, it was two separate applications. Literally, you'd be looking at a two-dimensional chart, and then you would launch a three-dimensional application on top of it. And so you were running two apps at once. And as computers have updated, as operating systems have changed, it's becoming increasingly difficult that the operating system won't actually allow that for security reasons. Because when you think about it, if one app can launch another app, that opens some security vulnerabilities. Now, Auriculo 3D doesn't have vulnerabilities, but people could produce malware that did the very same thing. And so the OS doesn't like that. And you end up with increasing difficulties in keeping it running. And then, frankly, the technology has gotten so much better that old 3D tech is kind of outdated. Also, if you wanted it on different screens, you had to buy different apps. Because when you think about it, the only way you can get anything on an iOS device is to buy it from Apple's App Store, period. They control the entire ecosystem. It's all locked down and you buy from them. So if you wanted it on your iOS device, your iPhone or your iPad, you had to buy it from Apple and it wasn't 3D. And then if you wanted it on your desktop, your Mac or your Windows, you would buy that from us. And so you could literally end up buying 3 different apps in order to have it on all your devices. But even then, if you created a new point in one of your devices, like on your desktop, you add a new point, it doesn't show up on your phone because that's a separate app. They're not aware of each other at all. And so we were getting requests from our customers. How can we synchronize this? How can we make them talk to each other? How can I get 3D on my phone? People saying, hey, this looks really cool, but I don't even have a desktop computer or a laptop anymore. I do everything on a pad now. And we're saying, oh, sorry, we don't have a 3D version for a pad. And so it got to be, I don't know, would you say a bit embarrassing, Kimberly?
Yeah, and then if you didn't have an iPhone, all the conversations, when are you gonna have this for the other phones?
Yeah,
We only
Android.
had it for
Yeah,
iPhone.
exactly. Yeah, we didn't have anything at all for Android. Now, actually, several years ago in 2015, we set out to begin addressing this, and we started a project. We hired an outside programmer. He got a fair distance down the road and then found out that the platform he was programming on was really just never going to be able to do what we needed. And after we spent a bunch of money and a bunch of time, that project literally went nowhere and we had to abandon it. It was never going to work. So then we looked around at what platforms are actually available that will go across all your devices and that will host 3D and that will do it smoothly and beautifully and that will give you all the features that we wanted. And believe it or not, after our search, what we ended up with was a gaming platform, a development environment that's literally used to create 3D games. When you think about it, an environment like that is really awesome because it's designed for smooth, fast 3D graphics. It's optimized to do that. And that platform could make games for Android and for iOS and for Mac and for Windows and all of the screens you have. The downside is that it's a gaming platform. And so when you're trying to make an information reference tool in a gaming platform, it takes an immense amount of programming know-how and creativity to make that happen. Now, after literally several years of effort and a lot of midnight oil, we got it built, we got it refined, and we got it where we absolutely love it. And it is everything we hoped it would be and more. So that's a little background about how this came to be. Also a little background about why it took so long. It's been a long road. So the major differences between our old Auriculo 3D and our new Auriculo 360 is, first of all, Auriculo 360 is built entirely on a 3D platform. So you don't look at a two-dimensional chart. I'm going to actually share the old Auriculo 3D and let's take a look at how that runs. So this is the old school stuff. Here, we'll make it big. There we go. And so you can go through and you can, look at a chart or look at a protocol and you can flip between left and right ears on the old one. But then if you want to see some, whoops, this is interfering with my Zoom, it's fighting. There, if you want to see something 3D, then you click the 3D button in the old school and it would bring up this 3D ear that is kind of, I don't know, it's like a plastic representation of an ear. But you could zoom in and you could move it around. And at the time that was really cool. And then you would close that app and you'd be back to your two-dimensional ear. And so if you created a new protocol in the 2D app or added a new point in the 2D app, it didn't show up in your 3D. And of course, it didn't synchronize across your devices. So instead, let's take a look at the new Auriculo 360. So this is the new Auriculo 360 ear. This is what we call the interactive ear. And the thing I love about this is that it's readily zoomable, it's smooth, it's beautiful, it moves very nicely and very freely. And any point you can just click to find out what point you're looking at. So this is really cool because when you are treating a patient, for example, and you're scanning the ear, and this is one of the treatment protocols we teach, just scan the ear and treat what's active. So you're scanning the ear and you find an active point and you don't know what the point is, you can literally just come up here and click and see what point that is. And one of my mentors in auriculotherapy, Dr. Jim Shores, years ago used to teach big auriculotherapy seminars up on the stage, going, for 2 days or 3 days. And one of these tricks he did, it was almost like a magic show, because he would invite people from the audience to come up. Usually these were practitioners. And he'd say, look, I don't want you to tell me anything about your symptoms. Just if you've got a problem, come up to the stage. And they'd come up and he would scan the ear, find the points that were active. And he knew the points, I had the whole ear memorized. And he would say, okay, yes, that point is this, and that point is this, and that point is this. And based on that, he'd tell them, are you having a problem with your left shoulder? And he'd get it right just by scanning the ear. Well, we're not all that brilliant, but we can all have good tools. And so by scanning the ear with a great tool like the Point-O Select Digital and then clicking, you can immediately tell what points you're looking at. If you want to flip the ear, you just click down here on this icon and that flips between left and right ear. And then of course you can zoom in to a particular area so you can be very precise. And you can even flip around. You can look at the back side of the ear, points that are back there. So that's the interactive ear. And that's how you can locate points and find out what it is you're looking at. Then you have protocols. Protocols are groups of points that are designed for treating a specific problem. So for example, I grabbed anxiety here because it's such a huge issue in our society today. And so here is an anxiety protocol. And very easily you can rotate the ear, very easily zoom and so on, and see all of the points, see exactly where they're located. And then you can treat. Now, with these protocols, one of the cool things is that you can overlay right on the three-dimensional ear the frequency zones. So you can see exactly the frequency to treat for each point. So you can be scanning the ear. And if I was treating this patient, treating the anxiety protocol, I would start with what we call the master points. These are the points that are in all capital letters. And so I would go with point 0, sympathetic autonomic point, Shenmen, and tranquilizer point. And then I would check these other points, heart, occiput, adrenal, vagus nerve. I would scan those and I would treat whatever's active. And you can, of course, then flip and do the same on the other ear. So just that quickly and that easily, you have access to exactly what to do. And this will tell you which points to, or which frequencies to use when you're scanning and treating. So starting, as I said before, starting with point 0, sympathetic autonomic and Shenmen, those are all in the yellow zone. And you can see that yellow zone is the 9.1 hertz frequency. So I'd set my Point-O Select for 9.1, scan and treat, scan and treat, scan and treat. Very quick, very easy. And as you can see, there is a huge list of protocols here. And they're all, of course, in alphabetical order. You can just scroll right through, find whatever protocol it is you're looking for, and treat. Now, when we get down to points, these are individual points. And the individual points are just one point at a time. Each point, of course, you can read about what that point is used for. You see there's information that shows up over on the right. And so if you have a specific problem or if you're curious about a specific point, you can locate it and you can read about it right here just with a couple of taps. Now, we've looked then at points and we've looked at protocols. But something that's really cool about this, and something that's been a long time coming, because people literally since the beginning have said, I love that you've got this software. I love that you've got all these things in it, all the points, all the protocols, but you're missing one. And no matter where we went, somebody would always have a new protocol that they suggested needed to be added, or a new point. And so this has the full ability to add those things. You click up there on the little ear with the plus, and you can add a new point or add a new protocol. And adding a new point is super simple. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to call it the Adrian point, because you know, everybody has to have their own point, right? And you can add a description here like that. And then you can locate where you want that point to be. So you can put the point, and then you can zoom in and say, no, wait a minute, that's a little off. It's really more, yeah, right there. And as you're doing so, you have access to all these other points around here so that you can tell what you may be dealing with. If I drop the point right here, it automatically turns on the labels around it so I can see, oh, look at that. I got it kind of right there between the thirst, the vitality, and the apex point. No, I wanted it more there. So once you've got the point located exactly where you want it, you save that, and that point is now in your software. And so when I go back here to my list of points, you can see the Adrian point is shown in yellow. It's a point that I've just added. And now the other cool thing is, if I go launch my phone, and then I start Auriculo on my phone, there it is, it's logging in, and I go into the points, there's the Adrian point right there on my phone. It automatically synchronized over, and I didn't have to do anything. It just happens. The only thing you have to do is it collects all the new information when you launch the app. So I got out of the app and I relaunched it on my phone. It collected the new information and it's there. And so no matter where you create information, even if it's just adding notes, which you can do to any point. So like if I wanted to add a note here to the anxious point, and I save that, now I've got that note here in my anxious point. Next time I launch my phone, that note will be there too. So all of the information synchronizes across all of your devices. And I could go launch it here on my iPad and it'll be there as well. So we've really
Adrian?
made a nice seamless experience across all the platforms.
I would like to chime in here for a minute.
Please do, Kimberly. In fact, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute so we can see you.
Okay, with all of the courses that I have taken through the years and all of the acupuncturists that I have met, inevitably somebody will say that is not where the anxious point is. In my class where I learned, my professor told me that the anxious point is slightly over to the right and slightly up. And if you're really going to, and I'm just pretending with the anxious point, right? But inevitably all of the points are like that. So you can take a class and you can take information from a professor who says that it's completely different. You can put it in your protocol. You can put notes about what that professor said, and save it for the future, because inevitably you'll meet somebody who says, oh, that's not where the Adrian point is. It's actually here, because that's the nature of medicine, auricular therapy, acupuncture in general. Everyone has a slightly different idea. So it's fantastic to be able to have that ability to pull all of those ideas together. And then when you pull it up, you can say, okay, this professor says it's here, this person says it's here, this person says it's here. Here's the area where I need to go.
Yeah, and you can even take existing points that are in the app. You could say the anxious point, it shows up here, but my version, the Kimberly anxious point, is right here, and you can create that one as well. You can modify existing protocols the same way. You can take an
Yeah.
existing protocol and build on it and make it your own.
And a perfect example of that is I've taken the course from Richard Nimtzow, and all weekend long, I will train with him, and he will tell you where the classic books say where a point is, but his experience over and over and over is that the point is exactly right here. So I take that point, put it into my new program, name it Richard Nimtzow's point zero, and I put the notes. We have all these notes in notebooks from going to seminars or deep into our computer where we can't grasp it. It's all there. It's right in front of you in your app on whatever device that you're using. That's the beauty of Auriculo 360, is that you can customize it perfectly for your needs.
Yeah. And now it's it's always with you, because who doesn't, have their phone with them pretty much 24/7.
Exactly.
And, there's so many practitioners now that aren't using computers in the treatment room at all, but a lot are using iPads or Android tablets. And now you've got all your data. Even if you want to use the nice big computer screen when you create and when you type notes, you can do all that on your computer, and boom, now it's all on your pad that you're going to use in the treatment room. So very cool stuff. Let me share a couple of other quick things, and then we're going to just open it up and answer questions and talk about stuff. But I wanted to point out what you can do with protocols, because this is another cool option, another cool capability of the new software. I'm going to jump in here to the anxiety protocol because we've already looked at that. And as you can see, there's a write-up about what the anxiety protocol is for. The primary points each have their own write-up. It's all visible right there on the screen. And you get all the same info in your handheld devices too. Everything has parity. And if I decide, well, that's a pretty good anxiety protocol, but I just learned a better one in seminar or something, then I go in here and I say, well, new protocol, but really I want to copy from the existing. So I'm going to copy from that anxiety protocol. And now it's called anxiety modified. And let's name that one. I'm just going to call that anxiety Adrian, because I'm naming everything Adrian today. I named my son Adrian. I don't know why. And I can add some notes here and say, there we go. And I could be more specific, obviously, but you get the idea. And now in this window, I'm looking at the available points. This is all the points that are in the software. And I'm looking at the points that are currently in the protocol. And so I can add points to the software or to the protocol, or I can remove points from. So I'm going to go up here to the Adrian point. I'm going to add it to the protocol. And now you see it showed up. Likewise, you can remove points from the protocol, and you can add points to, and as I do that, when I'm finally satisfied with it, then I hit next and it lets me see what I've done. Okay, this is how the protocol looks now that I've modified the points. And if it's all good, I save it. If not, I can go previous and I can keep working on it. Then when I save that, here you see I've got the anxiety protocol and I've got the new one that I modified. You can also just start from scratch with a blank year and create protocols. You don't have to start with an existing one. And again, you've already heard me say it, it'll synchronize across all your devices. Everything you do, no matter what device you do it on, it ends up on the others. So it really is a very beautiful ecosystem. And we are practitioners. We designed it for practitioners to be as efficient and effective as possible. We went through a lot of iterations. Believe me, we've been at this a long time programming this. And frankly, we started over a couple of times because we had things working well for what a programmer thought. Hey, this is a really cool way to do it. And then we try it clinically and say, oh, that's no good clinically at all. There's too many steps, or you can't see what you need to see right now, or whatever. And so we optimized and optimized and optimized. And I think if you ask our programming team, well, don't ask our programming
Don't
team.
ask.
How about that? Let's just say today is Kimball's birthday. Shout out to Kimball, our head of technology here. And he had a huge hand in programming this. And happy birthday. I hope you're having
And he
a
took
great
the day
day.
off today, yes?
And he took the day off. That's why I'm shouting out. Yeah, he's not here. He's off celebrating, as he rightly should. Okay, so the last thing I'll mention is that we also have all of the charts you would expect. And a lot of these charts are still two-dimensional. Some are three-dimensional, like the master points chart on a 3D ear. Some of them remain two-dimensional simply because of the way they're built. Trying to illustrate some of these things across a three-dimensional ear becomes frankly problematic and very expensive. And we wanted to make this as cost-effective as possible. And our research showed that these charts, especially looking at a chart like this, where you're looking at a homunculus or you're looking at the various phases, we found that adding that three-dimensionally didn't really add a huge degree of usability. The information you need is all there because you're not looking at specific points. You're just looking at general areas of the ear. So that's the only part of the software that is 2D at all, is a few of the charts. Other charts, of course, are three-dimensional. And the two-dimensional charts, they work beautifully on all your devices as well. You can still flip them left and right, all the good things that you need, so they're highly usable. All right, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and let's take some questions before we jump in, and we'll talk kind of about the process, the specials we have going for the launch, the specials we have for upgraders, all of that. But before we do that, I just wanted to field any questions or any thoughts about what you've seen so far.
Hey, Adrian.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna thumb through and look at the questions, but Constance asked a really unique question, and an idea just popped into my head on how that could completely work. So I'd like to take that one first because I think it's a great question. She says, I use herbs and vitamins. Is there a way to put this info into the 360 protocol so it is all together? Yes. Click on the protocol, click on add notes to that protocol, and whatever information you want to remember about for treating that protocol would be right at your fingertips.
Beautiful. Absolutely. And that's kind of why we made the notes and everything free form and tried to give as much flexibility as we could so you could do things like that. So I love the way you're thinking. That's a great question. Thank you. That was Constance, is that right?
That was Constance, yeah.
Thanks, Constance. Yeah.
And we have somebody with their hand up.
Yes, it's Sub-Zero is the screen name I'm seeing. I'm asking to unmute. If you'd unmute and ask your question, that'd be great.
Hello.
There we go. We hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for a great program.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
That's great. I bought my program yesterday and been browsing around and trying to see how it works and stuff. And some things that I'm from Norway, Stenova, Rønningberg is my name. Yeah. I've been practicing from since 1999 with all kinds of different stuff in energy medicine and stuff like that. So, and I have the Auriculo HD. And,
on your iPad then, correct?
Yeah, on my iPad, and the ordinary Auriculo on my phone, and 3D on my PC. So it's great to have a combined platform to make it real and kind of that stuff. So, something that I kind of miss in the new program is is the print session. You know, to print out forms and stuff like that, because and also the online, you know, 360 is quite online. It's an online platform. You always have to be online to log in.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up. Those are two great points. And let me just address those if I may. First, let's talk about printing. I mentioned that in order to get all the functionality we needed and to get it good, we had to use a gaming platform. Well, gaming platforms just don't play well with printing. And we actually did try to build a print engine that would print reliably. And what we found is that you would get very unpredictable results because every screen size is different, and every platform, every OS that you're on is different. The long story short is this: you can print from your computer using, just take a screenshot of the image on the screen and print the screenshot. That is, of course, available on the computers, and it was available on computer-based on Auriculo 3D in the past. So that functionality is still there. Just do it through a screenshot. Printing from an iPad or an iPhone or Android devices creates all sorts of problems, and we didn't want to release something that wouldn't be reliable, which is why we didn't add printing. So hopefully you can still do it that way from your desktop. The other question about needing internet access in order to use the software to log in. Yeah, that's true. That's another, because of the way everything synchronizes, in order to avoid getting things out of sync, the compromise we had to make there was to make it so that it did require a connection. Now, the good news is most phones, iPads, computers, and so on. Well, phones are all practically always connected unless you put them in airplane mode. And other devices are almost always connected. And so based on either, on the one hand, having database unreliability, or on the other hand, requiring the connection, we went with requiring the connection so that we could ensure that you always have a good experience and that things don't break. So yeah, I wish it could be otherwise, but that's what we ended up with, and I think it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah, good questions.
Yeah. So, but the trouble in Norway, you know, if you go on the mountain or you go on the hillside, you don't have the internet connection.
Oh yeah, places where you're out of coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's kind of trouble for me, because it's not always I have the possibility to go to the internet. So, but I'm glad 3D or ordinary Auriculo programs still work, so I can use it that way.
Yeah, and, yeah. In an emergency, you could.
And I'm kind of old fashioned, you know. I have things in paper and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you know, when I have clients and I have the journals, I always have their treatment plan in paper form. So I always can just unconnect to the network, because I'm not too fond of Wi-Fi and that kind of radiation. You know, I feel it very in my body, because I'm quite connected to the energies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I kind of turn it off most often to just get peace in my body and don't get the inflammation and bad stuff that connects with it. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
So,
yeah.
It was kind of a funny moment when I well, okay. I heard Kimberly back there. Did I?
Mm-hmm.
No, I did. Did I hear you? Did you say something?
No.
No, we have some other people that are waiting to ask questions that we probably should move along to. But do you have any other question before we move on?
No, I'm just grateful for the cooperation and the heart and mind you are kind of radiating. I like your company and your way of thinking. So I'm grateful to be a part of your team, a part of your team. You know, I've been taking 40 courses of your online platform, you know, learning platform and stuff like that, and I quite appreciate it. And we have the same kind of mind. So
thank you.
So keep on the good work, and if you sometimes have the possibility to make it writable on the paper form and stuff like that, I would be very grateful.
Well, we are going to keep developing, and frankly, this kind of feedback helps us know what features to focus on, because we're committed to continual development and continually making this as good as it can be. And so with that, let's move on. We have Ilda is asking she has her hand raised and wants to ask a question. Ilda, would you like to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, yes.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a couple of questions if that's okay. The first one is, I'm a current acupuncture student, so I don't have my license yet. I do have auricular 3D, and I'm interested in the 360, obviously. But you did mention something at the beginning where, you know, because I'm currently a massage therapist. So, and I know it depends on the law per each state, and I actually have inquired, but I don't know if you have any knowledge, because if I do have the Stim Plus Pro, and I'm interested in the Point of Select, but when I did contact California, they mentioned that they really they don't know if you can practice auricular therapy like with seeds or just the Point of Select, not the Point of Select, but the Stim Plus Pro, just as a massage therapist. Do you have any, because I really want to get going on this as a massage therapist to add it as an adjunct within my treatments with auricular. Do you have any comments on that?
Great question. Thank you. So when you're talking with your state board, one of the problems with state boards is that a lot of times who you talk to is an administrative person who's not a practitioner and who doesn't have really much idea what you're asking. So to cut to the chase, they tend to think in terms of, am I allowed to do a procedure? And if you say, well, can I do auricular therapy? They may not have any clue what you're talking about. But if you say, can I use electrical modalities? Can I use an electrical stimulator as part of my massage license? Well, that they're probably going to have an answer for. Don't tell them where you're going to use it, whether you use it on the ear or use it on the leg. That's not really the relevant thing. The question is, can I use the device? And so I would approach it that way. And as you said, every state is different. And every license has a different scope of practice. And so check within the scope of massage if other devices are available to be used within the massage scope of practice. If they are, then you can go ahead and do that. So that's my best advice there.
Okay.
I have a little bit of input when you're done.
Okay, I did ask him specifically in light of the seeds, because I have, I have the auricular 3D, and I asked him in light of using seeds and such. But yeah, go ahead, Kimberly, sorry.
I would love to add to this. So I was a massage therapist before I was an acupuncturist. And really, when I was a massage therapist, I was treating acupuncture points on the body with pressure with my thumbs. So when you are treating the ear, if you've got a device that can find the electrically active point, and then you can put an ear seed or a pellet on that ear point, and you can press on it and use you can use a pressure point on the ear to treat your common pain conditions, then you are right in your scope of practice for pressure points. You're just using something to find the point, and then you're treating with pressure. So I've never met anyone who has not been able to do rub ears, do pressure points on ears, do pressure points on hands, do pressure points on feet. So that's my perspective. And you can, it'll literally change the work that you do if you can add pressure points on the ear.
Yeah, because I wanted to advertise it that way, but I, wanted to stay within the legal parameters. Okay, thank you so much. Next question is a little bit more relevant here. In light of me not still going through the process of getting my acupuncture license with Auricular 3D, are you going to continue to support that one now that 360 is coming out?
Good question. Support for 3D is going to continue for the next 6 months. So tech support and all that. And then at that point, it will be an end of life product. It'll still work. It's not like we're going to make it not work or something. If you have it and you're welcome to still run it, but support will be ending at that point. The other thing I wanted to mention is that anybody who has bought Auriculo 3D, the old program, anybody who's bought that within the last year, because you've invested this money so recently, we're offering a free upgrade to Auriculo 360. Your first year is free. So that way you don't have to feel bad about saying, yeah, but I just bought the program and now there's a brand new one. Well, great. You can have the brand new one, no problem. Because we really do want to take good care of our people. And if you've taken the leap and invested in us, we want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. So I don't know how recently you've bought it, but if it's been recent, then take advantage of that.
It has, and it's been more than a year that I purchased it.
Oh, okay. Well, you're welcome to continue using it. And, at the point you decide you want to upgrade to Auriculo 360, then it'll be here for you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ilda. Appreciate that. Somebody named iPhone has their hand up here. I'm asking whoever that person is to unmute and ask their question. I also see a bunch of questions in the chat. We're going to get to those. And I know Kimberly has some things to share that I'm still waiting to hear from. So let's keep things moving. Go ahead, iPhone.
I hope that's me. Can you hear me?
That is you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Penticton, Canada. I have the Auricular 3D and a couple of your stim plurals, which I really love. I'm a little bit disappointed when you answered the question about the print functionality. I think that would be something to direct your research efforts into and your upgrade efforts. The question I have, though, is often computers and systems crash. Once we subscribe to this, will we be able to re-upload that if our system crashes?
Absolutely. Yep. No problem at all. And you get, depending on the plan, you can either have 3 screens or 10 screens, and you can manage those. So let's suppose you get a new phone. You can jump into your plan and say, yeah, old phone gone, new phone, install, and boom, all your data's there.
Okay, that's super. Yeah, that was one concern. Yeah, so yeah, good job on the upgrade. I really appreciate that. Being able to see those hidden points is really valuable. And like the way you've integrated both the Chinese and the Nogier points. Excellent work. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of you guys and want to keep supporting you. But I do depend a lot on the functionality. I am retired acupuncturist now, but I still use it for myself, family, and friends. And I often print out a page and then add my own notes. I still use a lot of body points too. I started off as a body acupuncturist and then picked up auricular therapy along the way.
Okay.
Very powerful, very good stuff. So
well,
I
good.
encourage
And for
you to
now,
continue on your endeavors.
thank you so much. And for now, like I said, if you're on a computer, just grab a screenshot and print that. And you can still do that. It's a workaround, but for now, that's what we'll do. And we are looking into how we can reliably give everybody a good printing experience. Hopefully that'll be something we can add in an upgrade.
Can I just add for everyone who's doing the screenshot, I take a screenshot and add it into my electronic health records program. Like, there's the protocol that I did. I just take a screenshot and drop it in. So that might be helpful to you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Cameron just chimed in and said, hey, on a mobile screen, you can snap a screen image, which you can do screenshot on your phone, for example, and then you can text that to someone, or you can email that to someone. So you've got various options for sharing what's on the screen there. And okay, there's a hand up from New Mexico Herbal. There we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's New Mexico Herbal Clinic. First off,
you.
we'll love your products. Use them all the time. We just installed the new one, the 360, and love it. I'll make this real quick. So the lady that was asking about California laws, yes, she can certainly use ear seeds there. We use ear seeds here in New Mexico too, and I've actually used them on a patient in California. So there's no problem with that. One of the questions I have is that the ability to set your own protocols is one of the more powerful features. It was powerful in 3D and now in 360. Have you given any thought to creating a community forum where people can share their protocols that they've tried also? And I'll stop talking and let you answer.
Great question. Thank you. Yes, we have thought about that. And I personally think that would be really cool, where if you create a protocol, you would have an option to say, share this protocol with all my colleagues, and then have a colleague protocol library that you can browse and grab those and add them to your program. That's what we envision happening. That's on the kind of future list, and we haven't decided for certain whether we'll implement that or not, but knowing you're interested helps nudge us in that direction. And if other people are interested as well, if you think that'd be a good idea, let us know, because really we're driven by feedback. So thanks for making that known to us. Great question. All right, we have some things from Kimberly, and then there's some questions in the chat. But Kimberly, you've been patient, and I've kept you waiting a long time, and I know you've got stuff to share. So please enlighten us.
Yeah, I won't share for long. This has been so fun for me to move on to 360, because whatever was lacking in 3D, we kept making a list and making it bigger and bigger and bigger of what we needed to add to the new one. And it was me who got to go through all the books and go, oh, here's new stuff and here's new stuff. And so I'm going to share my screen and show just a couple of things that I have found exciting. So I have been, as the new program has come out, I've been going through and looking at the new protocols and seeing what's new. And so in the notes, I went and typed in the hashtag new, hashtag new within the notes for some of the things that I've been looking at so that I could bring them up quickly. And look at this. Have you ever seen the governing vessel or the conception vessel on an ear? That's pretty exciting. I've been exploring and playing with these points when I'm treating the Ren or the Do on the body of finding electrically active points based on this chart to my treatment protocol. Notice that the conception vessel is on the right and the governing vessel is on the left. So that's new and exciting. That is one that I wanted to share. And we would get questions all the time for hot flashes and menopause. And I used to teach people, well, what you're looking for is yin deficiency, or you're looking for sweating, or you're looking for night sweats. So we now have protocols that are very specific for women's health, and I'm excited about that. So I've got hot flashes, menopause, night sweats, and then there's a lot more neurological types of points. And I was looking through this morning and noticed that when more neurological points came available on the ear and we added them in, I was thinking of the time that we're at in the world right now. And I was looking at the olfactory bulb or the olfactory nerve in relation to loss of sense of smell. And I was thinking how beneficial this point is going to be in my treatment now with patients that I'm seeing. So I won't get into details, but it was just kind of fun to show some of the new things that are available. And honestly, this is probably my favorite right now is the governing vessel and the conception vessel. I'm going to play with this more. So I'll stop sharing my excitement.
Never stop sharing your excitement, Kimberly. But that's cool. And I'm glad that you pointed out all that list she had. That was all new protocols, new points, new charts that are in the software that didn't exist in Auriculo 3D. And the other cool thing is, because this is an integrated system and it works on a cloud database, your personal data as not personal data, but the protocols you create, the points you create, they're all stored in your personal area in the cloud. It's all, of course, protected and there's no personally identifiable data. But the cool thing is we can add to the database. So as we learn new things, as Dr. Kimberly learns new things, we can create new protocols and they can automatically show up. Now, of course, we're only going to do that judiciously and things that are very solid, very well researched and so on. But it's cool that when somebody comes along and says, hey, here's this thing that really should be in your software and we research it, we can literally add it on the fly. You don't have to buy an upgrade or something. We can add new protocols as we go. So those are the plans. Auriculo 360, we're super proud of what we've done here. It's been an immense amount of work and we're just all on cloud 9 that it's finally here and that we can finally show you. You can learn more at auriculo360.com. So head over there if you have questions or you want to see more about it or learn more about it. Of course, our staff is all here standing by chat, by phone, by email. We're ready to take your questions. And I will now jump in and take all the questions that I can that came in on the chat. So let's see, jumping in here. Wow, there's a lot. Somebody said happy birthday, Kimberly. That's great.
Hey, I'll chime in if we happen to answer it already in a message.
Sorry, go ahead, Kimberly. I'm sorry.
If you come across a question and we've already answered it in a written message, I'll chime in and let you know so you don't have to keep going.
Okay, somebody said, please demonstrate how you are using the icons to move the ear. That is actually a really great question. I'll show you that quickly. So I'm just going to grab an ear that's a single point. That'll make it nice and easy. So the icon on the lower left with the spinny arrow around it, that is to grab the ear and move it in the 3D space. And I'm probably making it really choppy by moving so fast over a Zoom meeting. Then if I want to move the ear around, I can grab the icon that has the 4-way arrow, and that will now move the ear around. And if I want to zoom, I can grab the icon that has the magnifying glass and I zoom in and out. But you really don't have to use the icons for most of this because, for example, on my, well, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to show you now. Oh, before I do that, sorry, here's the other icons. The icon down here at the bottom, this one recenters the ear. So if I do this and I zoom way in or whatever, I just click that and the ear is recentered. That's this ear icon. This icon adds the Nogier frequencies, and this icon switches left and right. But let me show you how that works on something that isn't a computer screen. So I've got my iPad up here, and I think I can see, yeah, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. And in the top corner of my iPad, there is touch gestures help. I just tap this icon right up here. It shows the help for the touch gestures. 1-finger touch rotates the ear. 3-finger touch moves the ear around. 3 fingers at a time, and then pinch to zoom. So let me show you how that looks. I've got my 1-finger touch and I'm rotating the ear. See how nice that works? It's really kind of a cool thing. 2-finger touch, I'm pinching and I'm zooming. 3-finger touch, I'm moving the ear around. See that? So on the touchscreen devices, it is just beautiful and it's intuitive and it's wonderful and I love it. So great question. Thanks for asking that. I appreciate that. Let's see, will the program have a print feature? We talked about printing already. I treat people lying down. So normally I turn my iPad so the 2D ear turns to reflect what I see. Does the ear turn in this way on the new version? On the mobile devices, the screen is locked. So if the patient is lying down, you can literally turn it on its side and you'll get the side view like that. We had to do it that way because if it doesn't lock and it attempts to resize and so on, with 3-dimensional space, you get into all kinds of math that becomes incredibly difficult to display right. And we prioritize a good experience. And so we've made sure that it will always look right no matter what you do there. Okay, is it possible to save a protocol for individual patients? And somebody mentioned, Dr. Kimberly mentioned, just name that for the patient. And then you can also search in the search function. I didn't even demonstrate searching, but you could just search on that patient's name and boom, that would pull up their protocol. That's the very fast, easy way to do it. Okay, somebody says Point-O Select Digital. Just briefly, the Point-O Select Digital is great because it has a very precise tip. It searches for both positive and negative polarity points, automatically chooses the right polarity to treat the point, and it's capable of all the correct frequencies, and it delivers them very precisely. So you put all that together and you have a great device. That's why we recommend it. That's why we use it. That's why we love it. And for more information, you can visit our website at pointoselectdigital.com, or is it just pointoselect.com?
It's just pointoselect.com.
Just pointoselect.com. Thank you. That's what I thought. Just at pointoselect.com, you can visit the website and learn all about it and see a demo and so on. How long does it take Point-O-Select to determine if a point is active and needs to be treated? Instant. As you're searching, that's what it is doing. As it's searching, it's telling you how active the point is. And so when you locate a point that's active, you'll know immediately and you just hit the button and treat right then, right on the point. Oh, and I see John or Dr. Kimberly answered that too. I should really read ahead before I answer. All right, training for using the Point O Select. Yes, there's video training, of course, and we want to make sure that all our users are well trained in anything we sell.
Our training is practitioner based, right, Adrian?
It is, yeah, not based for lay people.
So we're not going to teach you how to be an auriculotherapist. We're assuming you already know, you've had some training, and then the device is based on that.
Yeah, great point. Okay, will Auriculo 3D work with the new Apple Big Sur OS? Yes. If Big Sur is the latest, which I believe it is, then yes. It also works on the new M1 based chips in the Apple chipset. So everything is up to date. Everything is current. And we've tested it. All right. Let's see. Somebody says, can I use this device before being fully licensed here in Washington? Well, of course, using the software, you can use any software you want. That license doesn't control that. Using a treatment device before you're fully licensed, I don't know. Again, you'd have to check with your state board. We certainly wouldn't want you to do anything that gets you sideways with your licensure.
Hey, Adrian.
Yeah.
That question about Big Sur, I think he was asking about, will Auriculo 3D work? So I think it had to do with how long will my 3D last versus 360, perhaps? So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you for the clarification. I don't know if 3D works on Big Sur. If anybody on my staff knows, please chip in, text me, let me know, or answer the question here.
It's my understanding that 3D works on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it does. Great.
And it has been tested with the M1 chip.
Okay, so the old 3D still functional on Big Sur and the M1 chip. Great, thank you. Okay, somebody said, is this a subscription service? It is. There's an annual subscription involved that allows us to continue to develop and to continue to maintain the infrastructure for all the synchronization.
I answered, Janet.
Okay, yep, I see that. Thanks. And how much training is offered? Is there an additional cost for the training? If you're talking about training for Auriculo 3D, there is training on the screen or on the website, and no, there's no cost. With the Point O Select Digital that we've talked about today, there's also free training that comes with the device. So no additional fee for the training. Somebody says, I agree with the idea of community sharing. That's great. Don't have internet at my practice office, so I have to turn on my hotspot each time I need it, a distraction. So offline use is important. Good to know. Thanks for that feedback. Let's see, there's the training videos. Oh, and Shireen says, Charles, you can use Auriculo 360 without an internet connection, but any custom data you create won't sync. So just keep that in mind, but the application will still launch and run. You can see points and protocols. Good to know. Good to know. Experiment with that, because I thought that it had to have, on launch, it had to be able to log in and had to have internet access, but after that, it did not. So we'll need to verify that. Let's see. Screen froze a couple times. Was it just you? I would think so. Sorry about that. You know how Zoom is sometimes. Will it work in Windows 8 or 8.1? I believe it requires Windows 10. Just ordered mine. So excited. Yay. Way to go, Pamela. Looking just
Adrian
through. Yeah, go ahead.
I turned on my 360 and turned off the internet, and it doesn't work.
Okay, so after you launch it, you stop.
Yeah, so you have to be online. You have to be online to use it.
Okay.
Yeah.
that answers that. Sorry for the confusion about that. I'm just checking it right now on my, I'm in my iPad right now over here. And if I turn off my Wi-Fi on my iPad and go back in, it is still functioning. So it might be device specific, but I launched on my iPad with Wi-Fi working, and then I turned off Wi-Fi and I can still use the software with internet turned off.
That's kind of strange.
Yeah. What device are you on?
I tried it on my iPad and on my computer. So maybe you are on internet phone network.
No, my iPad doesn't have cellular.
Okay.
And I do have Wi-Fi turned off and it's still functioning. So not sure what might be going on your end, but it does appear to work that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So the way that it works is it's going to depend on when the syncing happens, because it's trying to sync your custom data that you've done. In order to do that, you have to have internet, and it does that every time you launch the application new. But if you have the application already launched and you're using it and it has already completed the sync, then it doesn't need internet from that point forward.
Yeah, that's the answer, because I launched it on you.
Okay. Well, that might be what was going on. And thanks, Cameron, for that clarification. There is a question. Somebody said, hey, can I have 7-day free trial before I buy? And although we don't have a free trial, we do have a 60-day money back guarantee. So once you buy the software, once you subscribe and start using it, you have 60 days to cancel. And if you want to cancel, then no problem, full refund. We've always been a big believer that no one should be locked into a product they don't love. And so you've got 60 days to make sure you love it. And that's how we run things with most of our products and software. All right. Let's see. There's a lot of. I'm not gonna read aloud the positive comments. There's so many nice ones, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who has said so many nice things. Let's see. Somebody said Windows 7. No, Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft, and so it's insecure. So we don't support Windows 7. Do you have a special price of your bundle? Select Plus 360 for Accugraph users. Same price. The .0 Select and the 360. That bundle price, that free Auriculo 360 for a year applies to everybody. We don't have different tiers of that for different users, but thanks for asking. Okay, difference between the Stim Plus Pro and the .0 Select. Both great devices. The Stim Plus Pro, say that fast, is only monopolar. It doesn't detect points that are both positive and negative polarity. It will only detect a single polarity, and it doesn't have all the Nogier frequencies. So although it's a great device, it's handheld, compact, easy, fast, it's limited. It doesn't provide the full gamut of diagnostic and treatment capabilities. And I think that hit all of the questions. We've gone kind of long, and I want to just say how much I appreciate everybody that's joined us today, that's asked questions, and that's taken the time to consider the products that we produce. I want you to know that this is a labor of love for everybody here at Meridia. Our team is very committed to giving you the best product possible. And as you might guess, the acupuncture technology market is not a huge, prosperous market. We're serving a small niche of dedicated practitioners, and we're trying to do so in a way that serves your needs affordably and that gives you excellent service. And I just want to say how much we appreciate you supporting us and making it possible for us to keep doing the things we're doing, and how thankful I am that over the last 10 years, we've had over 10,000 people ultimately buy one version or another of our Auriculo products. And we simply hope that we'll be able to keep serving you for many years to come. So thanks again. I appreciate that.
Hey, Adrian.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to sit here and recognize that we have people all over the world sitting in this webinar today. And that means that auricular therapy is being used all over the world because of a program that you created. And I just want to say kudos and congratulations. And this is amazing because you honestly had such a vision to create something that practitioners could better treat their patients. Patients could get better results. And it's not just happening in a small space. It is literally happening all over the world. Awesome job.
That's very kind, and no fewer of those kudos go to you, Dr. Kimberly, because your fingerprints are all over this thing from the beginning. And thank you for all the work you've done to make it better. And let's all keep doing all the good we can for all the people we can. That's why we're here. Blessings to you all. We need to close. And so I wish you all a very wonderful and prosperous 2021. And if there's anything we can do for you, please reach out. Talk to you later, everybody.